And now, as promised, this is a rumor-centric episode, so we have a bunch of rumors to discuss, and they run the gamut. Comic books, video games, I'm pretty sure I even have tech stuff in here, whatever. So let's go first into confirmations and refutations. We do have a refutation for some Nintendo Switch Pro rumors. Actually, it's not a rumor, it's a reported leak. And if you have seen the image that is on the screen if you are watching, but if you're not watching, I will describe the image for you. It is a white Nintendo branded screen, and then in the corner of the image there is a white controller, looks like a Joy-Con controller, and it's kind of out of focus like they usually are when they're quote-unquote leaks. Well, I say quote-unquote because the person who created this fake image has recently come out and said, yeah, it was me. I did it. It was me all along. I killed the dog too. Sorry, WandaVision throwback. So yeah, that is not what the PlayStation or the Nintendo Switch Pro looks like. That is also not confirmation that such a thing actually exists. It is still very much rumor as to whether or not a Pro Switch will be released ever. So yeah. That's all we have for confirmations and refutations. Let's get into the actual rumors. Starting things off, we're talking about Jupiter's Legacy. All right, so the reason I put this in rumors and not in TV streaming is because Netflix has not officially made the announcement themselves, A. B, the announcement that we did get is from Mark Millar, so pretty dang near official, though it's not the announcement that everybody's making it out to be. Mark Millar has said that the actors that were in season 1 have been released from their contracts. Now, generally, yes, this does mean that a show is not coming back, though Mindhunter did something similar, and now we're hearing rumblings that they're finally re-signing those contracts and coming back for a final season of that series, and that is also a Netflix show. So, and also in Mark Millar's quote-unquote announcement, he said that they are going to eventually come back as far as he knows. He didn't use those words exactly. I feel like there's a fair amount implicit there, but still, if you are taking at face value what was said, then cancellation is not exactly what happened. They are postponing to such a degree that they are letting the actors get other work in the meantime, and then when they decide they're ready for a second season, that's when they'll bring those actors back. That is the announcement that was made. So, still, we do not know 100% until Netflix makes it known. So I'm going to put this one very, very firmly in approximately 90%. I know I said very firmly and then approximately, but yeah, I am 90% positive because they did dump $200 million into this show, and it did release as one of the, if not the highest, most popular streaming thing for that week that it first came out across any streaming platform. It was the most popular. So I feel like the return on investment for Netflix should be there because of that information. So I can't imagine they're going to ditch this entirely. Also in the report, Millar said that they will be continuing in this universe. They're just going to a different side of the universe. The Super Crooks book, which takes place in the same universe as Jupiter's Legacy, is going to be the next series that they work on. It is going to be an animated series, so presumably it's going to be much cheaper than $200 million. Probably so Netflix can recoup some of the losses, because I would imagine that they broke even, maybe made a little bit of money, but not as much as they were hoping with that $200 million. So yeah, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Don't believe the hype. Moving right along, we have a new DC Comics rumor, and this one's not really new. This is just, it's coming from so many different places at this point, we must address it. So, the Warner Brothers Discovery merger has put a lot of things in some gray area. NetherRealm, the studio that develops Mortal Kombat, is kind of in this gray area as well, but the biggest gray area is DC Comics, which Warner Brothers owns. Warner Brothers Media owns DC Comics, kind of like Disney owns Marvel Comics, kind of. It is like Disney owns Marvel Comics. So the word is that AT&T is very unhappy because comic books are not as profitable as they once were. So they're going to let DC flounder and lose them money until they are able to sell DC to the highest bidder, which means that there is a potential that Marvel could buy DC Comics, according to the rumor. Emphasis on rumor, because if they sell the comics, that creates such a weird gray area that I don't think studio types are want to deal with, that I can't believe that they're going to sell off just the comic book side and still maintain the movie rights to these entities. So Batman is now property of Marvel or whoever decides they want to buy DC, unless you're talking about the movie rights, in which case it stays at Warner Brothers. I feel like Warner Brothers Production and AT&T above them and whoever else, Discovery, is involved, isn't going to like the miscommunication, the confusion between the two of them. So just doesn't ring true to me. There is a lot of weird going on at Warner Brothers these days, so I cannot 100% say this is not going to happen. So we'll say a likelihood that Marvel can buy DC, or Disney rather, could buy DC Comics. I'll put it at about 20%, and that's even generous, I feel like. My heart of hearts wants to say 5 to 10%, but we'll be lenient and say there's a 20% likelihood that this will actually come to pass. Our next rumor has to do with Bioshock 4. Sony is reportedly looking to buy the exclusivity rights for the PlayStation 5. Now, this is not necessarily out of the realm of possibilities for any one gaming production company, the video game console production company. And also, considering it's Sony, like, they've done this with multiple other games, so it also lines up with this. Now, the rumor is that Sony wants to do this, not that Sony is going to do this. So just because Sony wants to buy those rights does not mean that those rights are going to be bought. So likelihood that Sony wants to buy exclusivity rights to Bioshock 4? Yeah, 95% likelihood that they want this to happen. Is this going to happen? Hey, I don't know. Money talks, man. So I'll put the "is this actually going to happen" side of this right about 45, and I feel like that's low because I don't want it to happen. But there is a strong possibility for this because Sony kind of prints their own money in certain ways. So not like Disney, but man, they're getting there. So that's what we've got on that. Next, we're talking about the next iteration of my favorite video game franchise, Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 12 is in the rumor mill because I hate people. That's why. No, Mortal Kombat 12 is in the rumor mill because according to the quote-unquote leaker who leaked this information, they are going to be incorporating story elements from the movies into the game for Mortal Kombat 12. No, that's not how this works. Okay, so specifically with the Mortal Kombat franchise, the movies borrow pieces of the game, and that's the most generous way to put that. Now, I love the movies. I especially loved the new movie, for sure. There are some really, really harsh shortcomings of all three live-action Mortal Kombat movies, but still hold a very dear place in my heart. However, the thought that Ed Boon and company would incorporate anything from those movies into their game does not ring true to me at all. Now, there are, like I said in my Mortal Kombat review, there are certain things that I think they could embrace in their own way, specifically the invitation system that they created for the new movie. I feel like that was pretty brilliant if incorporated the way I know NetherRealm could do it. Now, just because I think that's smart and just because I think it would be okay to incorporate such things into the game does not mean such things will be incorporated into the game. It's just not the way this relationship works. So the leaker for this is somebody who has had some quality information before, though everyone who calls themselves an insider, quote unquote, or a leaker, quote unquote, usually gets more than half of their information wrong, and this is definitely on that wrong side. So is Mortal Kombat 12 going to incorporate information from the game, from the movies? No. And also, it should be noted that the next game NetherRealm does is not going to be Mortal Kombat 12. It's likely going to be Injustice. Hopefully we will get some sort of action-adventure game in the vein of Shaolin Monks. Probably an HD remaster of Shaolin Monks, something like that. Shaolin Monks was trending on Twitter because of something that Ed Boon asked for like 2 days. Yeah, there's no way that the next actual game is going to be Mortal Kombat 12. It's just not going to happen. So how would any information about a game that is nowhere in development going to be leaked? It just doesn't make sense. All right, I've spent too much time on this. We have to move on. Next, we're talking about Darth Maul. So there is apparently going to be a Disney Plus series based on the Sith Lord. The interesting part about this rumor is that it is not going to be spinning off from Solo. It is going to be spinning off from the upcoming Lando series. So Lando apparently is going to deal with, in some shape or fashion, Darth Maul. Darth Maul then is going to get his own series, much like everyone else in the Star Wars universe is these days, according to this rumor. Now, this comes from that same leaker, so take it with a grain of salt. There does seem to be a couple of nuggets of truth because they are trying to distance themselves from the Solo movie, because Solo is the only Star Wars movie that's ever lost them money, so that makes sense. I say that everyone in the Star Wars universe is getting their own or their own series because it seems that way, and it's hyperbole because it's funny. It's not the actuality of the situation. Maybe a few years down the road, we can say that with a little more confidence and it'll be a little more accurate in that statement, and it won't be quite so hyperbolic. But as it stands right now, no. A Darth Maul series, as awesome as that would be, very likely not going to be the case. Now, is Darth Maul going to factor into something that spins off of Lando? That is more likely. Yeah, I would buy that. But Darth Maul as the main character? No. So likelihood we will get a Darth Maul series, I'm going to put that at about 10%. Likelihood Darth Maul is going to factor heavily into the near future of the Star Wars universe, I'll put that at about 65 to 70%. And we're moving on. Our next piece has to do with The Flash. There are some pretty hardcore signs that Season 8 is going to be the last season of the CW's longest-running superhero show, The Flash. That's right, the Arrowverse, named after the Arrow TV show, is erroneously named. It should be the Flashverse because Flash has lasted longer than Arrow ever did, by at least 3 seasons. Likelihood that this is the case, I'm going to put that right about 70% as well, because contracts are a thing, and by now, all of these actors should have signed on for new contracts to go beyond season 8, and that has not happened. A number of actors are actually leaving during season 8, and we know they're leaving, so there's like I said, there's signs here that point this to this direction. When we will hear the official announcement, probably I'll give it 3 months, but I would be surprised if we get a season 9 for The Flash. Our next rumor has to do with Wedding Crashers 2. I have seen places reporting on this as if it were actual fact. I assure you, my friends, it is not. For those comedy nerds out there, Wedding Crashers 2 is something of a modern classic. Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson kind of knocked it out of the park with that one, so much so that they have done multiple movies together trying to capitalize on that chemistry that they created for the first Wedding Crashers movie to varying degrees of success. I'll be nice and say it that way. So the best of the movies that they have done together is now reportedly getting a sequel. According to the rumor, Isla Fisher and Rachel McAdams are also coming back, not just Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn. So what's the likelihood here? All of these actors separately have said that they would love to revisit these characters. So it is not out of the realm of possibility. We have not heard from any studio saying that there is interest in doing this. Hopefully, my hope is that the reason for that is because they saw Anchorman 2 and they saw all of these other sequels to these movies that did amazing, and then the sequel was like, yeah, okay, that happened as well. Though my logical brain says it did make a lot of money, it's easy to do comedies, they might be trying to do a little bit of a cash grab, but hopefully they will have an original story to tell and not just rehash the first one. So likelihood that we will see a Wedding Crashers 2 in the future, I'll put that at about 60%. I feel like it's a little stronger than halfway there. Now, the rumor does go on to say that they are actually about to go into production, active production of this movie. That seems much slimmer possibility than the potential of a future version of this movie. So the likelihood that they're about to go into actual production of said Wedding Crashers 2, we're gonna do 25% that's going to happen. I've even read one version of this rumor saying within the month they will be filming this movie. We haven't gotten an official announcement from the studio. No, that's not how Hollywood works. No. Wedding Crashers 2, probably. Wedding Crashers 2 this year? No, nuh-uh. Next, we are moving on to The Batman. That's right, Robert Pattinson's shiny Batman. No, he's not going to sparkle, I promise. So we're not going to talk about the rumor that it's so terrible that Warner Brothers is going to push it back to 2023. That probably deserves a whole episode unto itself. We're not going to touch on that. Anyway, this rumor says that because this Batman is going to be a technical Elseworlds story from anything else that Warner Brothers wants to do with these properties, that we are going to see a different Superman than what JJ is putting in his reboot version of the Big Boy Wonder, Big Blue Wonder, whatever you want to call him. This I feel like is kind of evident. I feel like we've even touched on this in news before, without them coming out and saying that in so many words. So likelihood that there's truth to this one, I'm gonna put this at about 80%. Very, very surprised if they use the same Superman in this Batman movie as they do in JJ's Superman movie. And then we're moving on to continuing along these Warner Brothers rumors, and we're going back to this Warner Brothers Discovery situation. The Snyderverse inevitably has returned. If you did not see this one coming, you have not been paying attention. Because apparently people like their poop shiny. You can polish a turd all you want. It's still gonna stink like poop. The the Snyder cut was a better movie than the Whedon cut. Not gonna argue that. But is that Batman? Is that the Batman you know and love from the mythology you've spent so much money supporting and engaging with? Is that the Superman you know and love? No, not really. Is that the Wonder Woman you know and no, not at all. Not any one of those three characters is not faithfully recreated even in the Snyder version, because when you start with a base of broken, you cannot build a universe around something that is broken. It's just not going to work. And that's what they've done. Man of Steel is broken on so many levels that the rest of the Snyderverse also is broken inherently. It is what it is. So, back to the rumor. Sorry, I went off on my little soapbox tangent there. We're climbing down off that thing, and we're going to talk about rumors. Snyderverse revival, because now that the Discovery merger, things are changing so we can get our... No. Zack Snyder has said it's not going to happen. I'm going to believe the man for what he has said. Now, in the past, I have been wrong on Snyderverse related things, but there is a difference between then and now. Then, he didn't rule it out. Now, he has. So there you go. I will put this at a generous 10% likelihood that we will see a revival of the Snyderverse with the Discovery merger. Next, we are talking back in the Mortal Kombat camp. This time we're talking about the sequel to the movie. We know the sequel is going to happen. We know that Johnny Cage is going to be in the sequel. We have heard plenty of rumors about who is going to play Johnny Cage. We've heard The Miz from the WWE. We've heard Ryan Reynolds, because it's Ryan Reynolds and he wants it, so why not let him? There was another one that I can't remember. Oh, John Cena was the other one. Oh, again, kind of makes sense. I can see all three of those guys being a pretty good, if not fantastic, Johnny Cage. This new rumor, though, puts a different spin on the character of Johnny Cage. Charlie Hunnam is the new one to be rumored to be playing the role of Mr. Cage himself, Mr. Making fun of Jean-Claude Van Damme. Very interesting. Charlie Hunnam, for those that don't know, was Jax on the Sons of Anarchy series, and then played Arthur in that god-awful Guy Ritchie King Arthur movie. That's an interesting choice. Now, I know a lot of you other Mortal Kombat fans are assuming I'm going to shoot this one down, but hear me out. We went with some interesting choices as far as Kano was concerned. As far as, honestly, Jax, when Mehcad Brooks was originally cast, I was like, I don't know if that dude can handle the physique of Jax, and then he got big. So that was an interesting one. Mehcad Brooks, I would put in a similar acting class as Charlie Hunnam. So there's, just because the minor notoriety there, actually Hunnam probably has a little bit more notoriety even. So it seems like he is approximately the class of actor that they are looking for in order to compare to the rest of the cast. Ludi Lin, most of the Asian American or just Asian actors in the movie were stuntmen before, or just martial artists. So, like, it's just an interesting thought process. Now, we haven't really seen Hunnam in a whole lot of comedy, and Johnny Cage is definitely a comedic character. So, how will that play? We shall see. Likelihood that Hunnam is the one they're looking at. This one honestly seems more likely than the rest, because I bet he's cheaper than at least John Cena and Ryan Reynolds, and he has more experience than The Miz, so like that puts him in this weird sweet spot of very much potential. I'm going to put this right about 65%, and I feel like that's even a little low. So yeah, we're looking 65% likelihood that Hunnam, and now it's not saying that Hunnam is going to be casted, but that they're looking at Hunnam or somebody like him. So yeah, I'll even bump that up to 75. We're going to give it a 10% bump. 75% likelihood, because I just talked myself into it, that Hunnam or somebody very similar to Charlie Hunnam is going to be Johnny Cage for the next Mortal Kombat movie. And now we are to our very last piece for the entire episode, and that is the rumor around Black Cat. We have been keeping tabs on these rumors as they have been going for approximately 2 years at this point. At one point, there was going to be this whole side universe over on Sony for all of the characters in the Spider-Verse, villains and heroes alike. Now, a lot of that has been pared down because lofty goals are lofty for a reason. They're not meant to be achieved. So at one point we had Black Cat, and then there was a separate Silver Sable movie, and then they put the two together, and for a long time that's what they were going with. They had scripts in the works and so on and so forth, and then very ceremoniously, let's be honest, it got dropped because things changed direction, the relationship with Marvel sours for a minute, all kinds of craziness happens. But now it seems like they're slowly building back to those lofty goals one more time, and Black Cat is back on the table. This time, the rumor says, though, that they're going with a cheaper writer and director. Apparently, the same person for both jobs. The director, the person that they are choosing or potentially have chosen, has not been named, so we have no way to compare their previous works or anything like that, but we do know that they are an indie style or an indie director of some sort, according to the rumor. That's all we really know according to this, so I don't know. It seems a little early, or even just not good timing. Is probably a more appropriate way of saying that. Introducing a brand new character into this spiderless universe, when you have very potentially a Sinister Six series coming, we have the Venom movie coming, potentially a third Venom movie going to be in the works very, very soon. Spider-Man in the works. Unless we can get an introduction to this character in one of those projects, this seems very, very unlikely to me. I'm going to put the likelihood that Black Cat will be turned into an actual movie by Sony within the next 2 years, right about 30%. There is a bit of a possibility. There's got to be a little bit of Tetris played in order to get us there. Some Dr. Mario pills have to be dropped on some things, but it is inside the realm of possibility. So 30% there, and that, nerds, is the rumor mill.